Other than the fact that this freaking hand thing seems to work like on any given occasion.
That's the meme.
It's like anytime he does that.
Every time a dinosaur shows up, I just half expect that.
Dinosaurs are always like, whoa, what is...
Whoa, this guy's got something else.
What is this?
I've never seen this before.
He'll encounter dinosaurs he's never met before.
Yeah.
And they're always like, what's...
You got the hand up. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Every time. What is happening there, Reject Nation? Greg and John back at it at the Cinemark. We just watched Jurassic World Dominion, but this time we watched it in a very specific format, which is D-Box. They wanted us to watch it in D-Box, and for a reason. I mean it sincerely. We even watched Top Gun Maverick in D-Box as well. Watching Jurassic World Dominion in D-Box, I do think, is one of the absolute best ways to experience this film. It's been a while since we've done anything of this type of more immersive theater experience, but they have completely fine-tuned. They've mastered the timing and the movement to be in sync with the audio and video of the movie. It does make it more immersive. It feels much more calculated. It doesn't just feel like repetitive, go through the motions of what it is. It's super duper in sync, and I loved it. Also, that you can control the intensity, because sometimes it can be a little too much for certain people, and that was fun just to kind of mess around with from time to time during the movie. So guys, this is a great way to experience Jurassic World Dominion, especially with the kind of visuals and camera movement this film has. So go to Cinemark.com, get yourself some tickets today, and find the nearest D-Box near you, because it's absolutely worth it. Now, how was the movie itself, though, as a whole? Let's talk about it. If you've seen our trailer reactions, you know we were both very much looking forward to this film. Just a quick recap on thoughts and feelings of the Jurassic World franchise specifically. I really like the first Jurassic World movie a lot. I think it's a fun roller coaster. All right, there's the original Jurassic Park, and then there's everything afterwards. But Jurassic World 1, I think, is a lot of fun. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I loathed that film. I know you like it a tiny bit more.
I like it more than you. I like it more than Jurassic World, honestly.
I loathe that film. But Jurassic World Dominion, I was very much excited by the trailers for this, because it seemed like they had something so much more different to explore, something so much more new, as opposed to being locked off at like an island again or some shit like that. This would take place around the world, essentially. You would see a world where humans and dinosaurs are learning to coexist with one another. That's the world this movie is. So this film basically has two plots. There's a lot of plots. There's like 45 plots in this movie, but there's two main plots you can boil it down to, all right? So the first main plot is you have Owen, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Claire, and do you guys remember Clone Girl from the last movie?
How could you forget?
Well, if you did forget, don't worry. They're going to recap the shit out of it for you.
There is a last time on Jurassic World, if ever I've seen one on this movie.
They're going to remind you to the core.
If this is your first time, don't even sweat.
So in that plot line, they have to keep the clone girl, separate from the world, because everyone's after her.
Oh, no.
We need her DNA. And while they're living out in the wilderness, there's Blue. Blue's back, and Blue has a baby. Beta. I loved this dinosaur, all right? Blue's always been the best part of Jurassic World franchise, and Beta, the baby Blue, love baby Blue.
You hear all of those plushies being sold right now.
So part of this world now is that there's a lot of poaching going on. Baby Blue gets kidnapped, Clone Girl gets kidnapped, Owen and Claire have to venture across the globe to go find them, rescue them. Second plot, which I won't go into too much detail about because the trailers actually didn't reveal much about it, but it's heavily focused on Alan Grant, Sam Neill, and Laura Dern's Ellie Sattler. They are such a predominant part of this film. It's not like they're just a cameo, and that's kind of a cool thing that I thought they did with it, because you did have two different films in here where it's like Jeff Goldblum's not featured as much as them, still an important supporting character, but not featured as much. There's basically something with science, corporate baddie, and they have to go stop it.
Stop that.
They're gonna go stop it. That's the plot, and then eventually you'll see these two plots, converge together into one. What I'll say is that in the first 20 minutes of this film, I was completely on board for it. It was exactly what the trailers were emitting to me, and now watching it play out, where it had a sense of awareness of kind of how fun this could all be. A little cheesy, but a really good like fleshing out of here's what the world is like now and how difficult and challenging it is for the dinosaurs and humans to coexist with one another. It really had a good handle on it in a way that was really entertaining to watch. I was all for it. This one had a different setting in the sense that it wasn't just one setting, at least for the first half of this movie. It wasn't just one setting. It was
every setting.
We're exploring the world, and it's a little cheesy, but I'm enjoying it. I'm for it. From what I'm about to say, you'll probably go, isn't that what you expected from the trailers, though? Isn't that what you kind of expect when you watch this movie? I don't understand how that's a criticism. That's what I want, Greg. That's when I saw the trailers. The problem is it becomes numbing. It becomes a little tone deaf.
Yeah, there's a rinse-repeat cycle of like, okay, here's a few lines either pertaining vaguely to an interesting idea that's plot-oriented, or here's a couple of kind of boilerplatey character dialogue bits. Then, oh wait, there's a threat. Moment of suspense to pay homage to the fact that these used to be monster movies, and now we're doing a big old action scene because we just found out the next location, and what's between us and that location? An action scene.
Yeah.
Pretty much spirals down a cacophony hole after a while.
Yeah, and you get so used to it. It's never scary, first off, because of the fact that everyone who's put in these situations is often either the same people over and over and over again, or it's just, returning main characters. So I'm not going to say who lives or dies by the end of this film, but for the runtime of this movie, you're pretty much guaranteed that they're probably going to be fine. So it's not even scary, and it's not that exciting, and there's not much tension due to the fact that there's safety and plot armor with these guys.
This is basically their job now, is to be in these situations.
Yeah. As far as the returning characters go, what I'll say is that like Alan Grant weirdly Sam Neill is just always a pleasure to watch, and it's nice seeing him and Laura Dern have a bunch of scenes together. They still have great chemistry, but Alan Grant ultimately felt unnecessary to this movie. Like he just kind of grumped his way throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was going to arc into something, or he would do something super vital and important, but he doesn't. Laura Dern, though, I thought she was excellent. I think Laura Dern, out of the returning cast members, is the best one of the three. Jeff Goldblum was very fascinating because here's the weird part about Jeff Goldblum. He was making the theater laugh at the same time, and I heard other people saying this too. He really didn't seem like he had his heart in this film, and it seemed like he didn't give a shit throughout it. And that's part of what made it funny, because there's no must go faster, Jeff Goldblum. It's just kind of mocking the material in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's a weird quality to these characters where I feel like, especially with the Jurassic World movies, to me, and especially with characters like Owen and Claire, there's a quality where even though they're played by the same actors and technically they're carrying on the same storyline, they always feel like they could be any two people. And I feel like that almost sort of starts to seep into characters like Jeff Goldblum, who has appeared in multiple sequels, and in the previous one, he's only in there for one scene. So I feel like out of everyone, it is a little bit of a bummer. He shows up, so it's fun to watch him, but it is a little bit like, you're used to this, I can tell.
Well, the setup of this movie does have a great debate, and it does try to like bookend it with it of how do we coexist? Like, create this fictional world, and then let's have conversations about it. Let's have a debate about it. But halfway through this movie, it essentially just becomes another Jurassic Park sequel again, where it takes place at this isolated location. There's bad scientist guy. That's it. It's the same, like just setups of like encountering dinosaurs. It's so repetitive in the way it goes. Like they just keep stumbling into the same setup like John described, and the same type of like they mix it up. Don't get me wrong, there are some really cool shots, and I really feel like Colin Trevorrow really cared. I feel like he really put his all into crafting these action scenes, but the emotion underneath is just not there.
And it's not in the script either.
And unlike Jurassic World 1, for me and for a lot of people, that was at least fun. Even though there's more of it, it's not anywhere near as fun. It actually feels like it takes itself even more serious this time around.
And it feels like if you trimmed out 20 minutes of action and maybe
a couple of plots.
Yeah, and a couple of plots, and maybe shifted some of that focus to our classic returning characters and our recent returning characters, you could have had something that is as fun as it wants to be and as satisfying as it wants to be. It's like the first Jurassic World movie was commenting on. It's like it almost gets boring because you're like, I get it, dinosaurs and chaos, cool. Give me something to care about with the characters I am happy to to see back.
Well, it's kind of crazy how Chris Pratt has become progressively more boring in these films. He is like dead on the inside in this film. He is not entertaining in the slightest bit. Bryce Dallas Howard, I think they try to make her character better here. And this is weird because I like them both as actors, and I like Bryce Dallas Howard a lot as a director especially. But man, they have no chemistry. There are a couple new characters who are a lot of fun. There's this pilot girl who you've seen in the trailers when they're on the plane and then the pterodactyl comes flying down, or I don't know if it's pterodactyl, but whatever. That girl, she is great. I was like, she should be the main character.
She should.
She's great, yeah.
Her and the guy who's the assistant to Jeff Goldblum were
great,
both great. And
her especially.
Her especially. And when she showed up, I was like, oh no, I could easily see how this character could be written totally obnoxiously. But she won me in every moment she
elevates
had. Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
She elevates it. If you're going to watch it, you're already going to watch it. You already kind of know what you're walking into. I was a little let down by the fact that the first 20 minutes seemed to be, oh, this is it. This is the film. This is what the trailers are. This is good. But then it just becomes typical Jurassic Park sequel. And that's probably the biggest letdown of it. It's not that interesting whatsoever. It's like a lot of just science mumbo jumbo, and some of it is based in realism, but there's no pulse to
no
it.
Personality or passion behind the script to really make that stuff sing.
No, it's just information being thrown at you. Then act right.
Yeah, and two, if you wanted what the trailers were giving us, which is like we're gonna see these sweeping shots, almost sometimes with no dialogue or no humans whatsoever, there are moments, little moments where the movie does do that, just goes into these little visual sequences, but they are not at all like the trailers would have you expect. Like you do descend pretty fast into blockbuster action cacophony, and I feel like the thing that is kind of stepping on its own feet about this franchise is the fact that they want to force it to be an action movie instead of like you can get a lot of action out of monster movie aesthetics, but I feel like they go full on action movie again with just that one little beat of suspense to pay service, and it does diminish the returns of the thrills of the movie across the board.
That's our thoughts on it. I genuinely mean it that D-Box does make it a better experience.
Yes,
all right.
And some decent ideas at the core.
Yeah. And if not D-Box for this, D-Box for something else, because like Top Gun Maverick is a great film and a great D-Box too. But Jurassic World Dominion, yeah, pretty let down by it. What do you guys want from this franchise? Did you watch it? Did you like it? Leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe. Click that bell. Thank you to D-Box and Cinemark. We'll talk with you all soon.